Quidditch is actually happening officially for Harry Potter fans, but just not in the way we ever expected it to be, and it seems like it was a master plan by WB Games all this time, which now makes total sense and, may I add, kind of expected as to why it was not in Hogwarts Legacy. The bad news is, does this mean Hogwarts Legacy is never ever going to get Quidditch? Well, we have a lot to get through. It's called Quidditch Champions, and it will indeed be a standalone AAA game which includes customization. Of course, it does look a little cartoony, which I'm sure people have mixed feelings about. Personally, I actually don't mind it at all. In fact, I think it looks quite cool. It's something different, and at the same time, it's safe to say we all definitely get caught up on graphics in games and how good it looks overall, when really we forget that some of the greatest gameplay experiences we've ever had, 9 times out of 10, now looks like a potato. So my conclusion here is that it's just all about the gameplay over graphics in my opinion, and going on the assumption that they get that gameplay experience to a really high level, then realistically we should actually be in the green zone, which leads me on to the fact that it's an online multiplayer game which involves people who have actually worked on top multiplayer games like the Call of Duty series and other games like Arkham series, etc., which is very important, as of course that does confirm that the experience as a multiplayer game should be very smooth, which is absolutely vital when it comes down to multiplayer only games. Now, it is being published by the Portkey label, but does not include any development from the people behind the Hogwarts Legacy game. That said, one of the people who did work on Hogwarts Legacy actually tweeted out the following: "I was a major advocate for including Quidditch in Hogwarts Legacy and was very sad when it became clear that we weren't going to be able to do so. Although not developed by Avalanche and not tied into Hogwarts Legacy, I still have high hopes for this online multiplayer version." So again, to kind of clarify in terms of how long this game has been in the works, it's been a good chunk of time. I'm talking a good couple of years. So with that being said, it now just kind of gives you that perception on, okay, what is the actual master plan here being followed by WB Games? Now, as far as the facts for this game goes, all we have is the following: online multiplayer, character customization, and of course the fact that it's just a AAA Quidditch game. Now, fun fact, they do have a FAQ page, and I just want to highlight two main questions. So the first one is, how does Harry Potter Quidditch Champions fit into the Wizarding world? To which they said, while Portkey games are not direct adaptations of the books and films, the games are firmly rooted in the magical universe of the Wizarding world. While remaining true to J.K. Rowling's original vision, Portkey game developers chart new territory by creating fresh ways for fans to immerse themselves in the Wizarding worlds. Then the next question is, what platforms will Harry Potter Quidditch Champions be available on alongside the actual release date? So it says Harry Potter Quidditch Champions will be available for PC and consoles, which have not yet been confirmed, and the exact same goes to the release date itself. Now, at this moment in time, you can register to actually get involved in a playtest. If I had to kind of predict, I guess you could say an official release date, I'm probably going to say it in the next sort of 4 months-ish. I could be completely wrong, it could be longer, it could be shorter, but I'd say that sort of sounds a little bit realistic. Of course, we need to get an actual trailer as well, and then it needs to see how much, hype the game gets and how much interest it gets, and then I guess they just go from there. Now, all of that leads to the bigger question, which is, with WB Games having Hogwarts Legacy under their belt and now this Quidditch game, will they be moving forward by making more standalone games within the Wizarding world that is not linked to Hogwarts Legacy at all? Or is this just a one-off? The bigger debate would be, okay, does it mean that Hogwarts Legacy is not getting Quidditch, which I guess, doesn't really make any sense if there's now a standalone version of the game. Now, in my opinion, I actually completely disagree with that, as it makes sense for it to still have Quidditch be added, but of course, solely the fact that there is no multiplayer in Hogwarts Legacy then kind of makes that Quidditch experience a bit more unique to that game as opposed to this official Quidditch only game. So that's where this new Quidditch game basically just steps in and kind of has that relevancy. Now, the way I see the game's performing as a whole is kind of how Rocket League works, which if you've ever played will know how fun it is, and it definitely makes you want to hop in and just get really competitive. So I have to be honest and say, okay, whilst it's not the Quidditch game we exactly anticipated, i.e. in the form of being in Hogwarts Legacy, I'm very hyped for it nonetheless, and providing they can make that experience similar, and again I'm just using Rocket League as an example because that's the game that kind of comes to mind with the whole stadium as a whole and the whole multiplayer world. If they can make it as fun as that game with that experience, then I think it's going to do very well. But at that point, it's then just what aspects will the game include, because again, are we going to be talking about more unique maps, etc.? What's going to be that limitation on the customization? I mean, there's just a bunch of different questions on there, of course, and then most importantly, how many consoles will it be accessible on? Now, I personally do think that it may well just go down the route of being on PC, PlayStation 5, and of course the Xbox Series X, but with that even being said, would that make sense to kind of play that card? I personally think it would, because again, it's not coming from Avalanche, so just the fact that it's not from Avalanche really changes this whole thing up, right? If it was Avalanche actually making this game, complete different story, but the fact that it's just under WB Games and then of course being published under Portkey, that's where things get very interesting, because my sort of anticipation and expectation on what WB Games in general were going to do with Hogwarts Legacy, or specifically just the Harry Potter games I guess you could say that they have under their belt, is basically just build on Hogwarts Legacy and then kind of go down the route that Ubisoft did, for example, with Assassin's Creed, just maybe not every single year, but they could very well still follow a similar strategy like that, except you basically get these mini games in between. So yes, they are standalone games, but when I say mini games, I mean it's just one aspect of the Wizarding world, right? So in this case, it's just Quidditch, right? And then you might have, another Hogwarts Legacy game, for example, every 2 years. Again, this is just pure speculation at this moment in time, but that's what I feel could kind of make sense if they're going down that route. I'm not sure what other mini games they could add that's going to be similar to this Quidditch game, so if you have any ideas, do let me know in the comment section below. But most importantly, the bigger question is, how much will the game actually be? Because that's kind of going to be that crossover between, okay, well, it's worth it versus, okay, I'm definitely not going to be paying, say $40 or $50, for example, for a standalone game that only involves Quidditch. For example, I'm not talking about me specifically, I'm just saying from like a general, consumer perspective. So that's my 2 cents on that. They could completely flip the coin and go down a very interesting route, which if you just take a look at the game visually, they could follow in, the footsteps of like Epic Games with what they did with Fortnite, which is of course going down that microtransaction route and assuming now there's customization and just one game and one objective. It's like, okay, well, how fun can we make that? So it may very well be a situation where, okay, yes, it's a standalone game, but is it a standalone game where you basically have free access, but then there's just a bunch of things to purchase inside of the game? And that's where things will get very interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I guess it would logically, and from a revenue perspective, make a lot more sense to kind of go down that route as opposed to just, a one-time payment for the game and then you get access because it only has one objective. But I'm keen to know your thoughts, so let me know in the comment section below. But there are not many days left until Hogwarts Legacy is going to be on the last gen consoles, which means there's going to be a big change in how the updates are going to be rolled out, as well as how the game looks visually. And well, fans are not happy about a few things, so go ahead and check the video out that you see on screen right now.